So I'm going to take these data points and I'm going to calculate the standard deviation. So recall that the standard deviation is calculated by summing up all the deviations from the mean that are squared. So we take the deviations minus the mean, we square it, we add all those up, and then we're going to divide that value by the total number of data points minus 1, and then we take the square root of all of that. So there's actually quite a few steps involved, and it can become quite tedious, but we're tough and we're going to be able to do this. So the first thing I need to do is I need to calculate the mean. So remember, the mean, we're going to add up all of our data points, and then we're going to divide that by the number of data points that we have, which is 7 in this case. So once we add that all up, divide it by 7, I get the mean is 7.67. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is calculate the deviations from the mean. That means that we're going to take each data point and subtract off the mean. So 9.09 minus 7.67. And we're going to do that all the way down and get those values. So I went ahead and calculated all those and wrote those values in red, but just remember that we're doing the same thing on each of these. So I went 5.29 minus the 7.67. I went 7.57 minus the 7.67 all the way down. And you'll notice that some values will be negative, some will be positive. Okay, the next step is we're going to take each of those deviations from the mean and we're going to square those values. So we're going to take 1.42 and square it. We're going to take negative 2.38 and square it. And you'll find that all of our values end up being positive. So this first one ends up being 2.02. The second value is a positive 5.66, and then that continues all the way down. So there we have the deviations from the mean squared. Now the next thing we want to do is we want the sum of all those. So we want to add all of those values together to get the sum. Now I calculate that to be 9.30. Okay, so that was quite a bit of work, and all that does is gives us the value that's in the numerator of our little formula. So we're going to take the square root of 9.30, and we're going to divide that by the total number of data points that we had. So we had a total of 7 data points minus 1. So we're going to go 7 minus 1. So that's the square root of 9.30 divided by 6, and then we just put that in our calculator and crunch it. And I come up with the value of 1.24 for the standard deviation. Now I do have one method to help us estimate the standard deviation, and it's called the range rule of thumb. And what it has us do is take our the range, which is our highest value minus our lowest value, and then divide that by 4. So in this case, our highest value is 9.09, and our lowest value is 5.29. So that's going to give us our range. So 9.09 minus 5.29. And then if we divide that by 4, that gives us an estimate of the standard deviation. And so if we calculate that and round that to the nearest tenth, I think we end up with 3.8 divided by 4, which is approximately 1. And so you notice that's close to what we have for our standard deviation. Again, it's an estimate, so it's not entirely accurate, but it gives us kind of an idea of what that standard deviation could be.